All right, hey everybody. So this is Josh Bruce, and today we're going to be putting together the mount it standing desk. And again, we're sticking with the theme of customer experience. So purchasing this through the website was pretty easy. There were no algorithms involved like there were on the Remarkable. Basically, I knew what I was kind of looking for, and found it, and went ahead and ordered it. One of the things with furniture in boxes is that you typically get pretty standard issue boxes, right? Just a cardboard outer shell. I am impressed that they did actually print on the box. I don't know what no corners means. Like maybe there's no corner styrofoam holding it in place. And we're also doing industrial lighting because it seemed fitting. And recording on my AirPod so I can move around without too much hassle. Um, so with that said, one of the things that I don't like about boxes like this is that basically they're cumbersome as hell, kind of heavy, but it's also a lid container combination, but the tape, like the bottom is taped to the lid. So for me, I'm going to try something slightly different, but than what I'm necessarily used to. Basically, I'm going to open it from the bottom instead of the top. And luckily, there's only like one staple holding the sides together. So that does mean that when I move, not if I move, but when I move, I'm going to be having to move the desk without the box, which is fine because TV, blah, 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 blah. Um, we're complete professionals here, so I have a kitchen knife to help me out. So when in doubt, let's go ahead and get started. So now I will say they did a good job of taping the box. Well, except for this corner. Oh wait, no. I guess I just straight up just lied. This whole edge kind of needs some help, but anyway, we won't hold that against them. Now I will say, like some furniture boxes, like have really gotten kind of slick. Like the Casper box. Like they're really trying to make that mattress opening experience an experience. Um, yeah, I definitely feel like this is just straight utility at this point. So there you go. Well, it looks like they've styrofoamed the heck out of it, so that's good. Of course, it falls apart easily, so that means I'm going to have to vacuum later. But I've always wanted an excuse to buy a vacuum. All right, so, and now that we have the bottom over there, we can use it like a bowl or something to hold all of our stuff. That's under this tabletop. So I did go with the matte black because I'm also thinking that with this standing desk, if you watched the other video that was sort of just the studio overview, then you're familiar with the guitar pick standing desk, and basically it just doesn't have this level of surface area. And so when it comes to top-down shots, I'm hoping that at least for non-black products, I'll be able to use this desk. So let's go ahead and get the parts out. All the styrofoam ever. Ooh, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Just this big brick of styrofoam. I like it from the perspective that stuff doesn't roll around, but at the same time, I'm wondering if there's a easier or more compact way to pack this. All right. So, man, we still have just styrofoam all over the place. There's like even a piece inside of the receiver for some of these bolts. Anyway, um, so quick start guide, or how to put this thing together. Uh, I do actually look at the instruction manuals. However, with that said, I typically look at it just to kind of say to myself, is it as obvious as I think it is? Um, so it looks like we're going to need an Allen wrench. Hopefully it'll come with one. Um, and they have a micro wrench. Hopefully it comes with that too. Not that I don't have those lying about the place, but just want to make sure. When I was lifting the legs out of the box, I noticed it seems to be using some type of ratchet lock system because basically you have, when it comes to any kind of desk or flat surface, horizontal surface, right, you have a static surface, which, think of your countertops, right? You can't just raise and lower those if you wanted to. And then you have manual, right? Which would be something like the camera stand that I have over here, where basically I unscrew it and then I move all the pieces and then I screw it all back in place. And then there's mechanical, or what at least I call mechanical, which is um, in the realm of standing desks, you might see like a hand crank that you turn. And so there's a mechanical mechanism that raises and lowers the desk itself or the flat surface itself, but you have to engage with it manually. So it does look like they've separated the all the different parts, all the bolts and screws, and we do have the Allen wrench and we do have the regular wrench in a nice sealed bag. It is numbered, or rather, it's labeled so that we can look at the instructions and say, "Oh, this is what they're talking about when they say A3." So, kind of appreciate that. All of the units that seem to, or all of the components that seem to be visible, because I'm assuming this is going to be visible, have this light foam that's around it. Like all of the top pieces have it as well. And I dig that because it keeps it from getting scratched, at least hopefully. This is sort of what I was talking about if you watched the unboxing video for Remarkable, um, where basically just having a little bit of that on there would be probably enough to protect the screen without that glued on piece of foam. All right, so we've got casters, we've got these screws. Now, again, this seems to have, like the legs seem to have some type of locking mechanism, and I appreciate that a great deal because this is, I would say this is a blend between the manual, like straight manual, and mechanical. Like it's a mechanical assist or something. Because of course you also have the automated ones, right, with the little push button, and you can get presets and things like that. Whereas this one, it looks like what we would do is we would unscrew it, and we'll verify. But it looks like you would unscrew it to basically unlock it so you can raise and lower. But as you move up roughly an inch, it won't fall back down. It has this break that you then have to disengage somehow. So that's kind of cool. And I'm really sorry for all this noise. Um, Unidentifiable. Feet covers. Yeah, this looks like just a couple of bags of aesthetics to kind of cover up the exposed screws and whatnot. All right, so that's our hardware. Um, and I'm not going to uh, bust out the tabletops yet. I don't think we need a knife anymore. All right, so let's take a look at these casters. Generally speaking, when it comes to furniture, I'm always concerned about casters. I want to make sure that they are um, pretty good times. So it looks like we have a bolt and washer, and then lock and unlock. Um, oh, it looks like it has the ability to do sort of a midway, and I don't know if that's on purpose, but yeah. So it's pretty smooth, but it's not going to roll away on you. Um, and it feels like it could take a lot of weight. Um, and yeah, that brake is definitely a brake. So that's good because with my setup, I want to be able to roll things around so that I can reconfigure based on what I'm shooting. Um, since this is mainly a workstation that's going to be sitting still, but at the same time, I might have to roll it around for various reasons. So I'm pretty sure these are going to be the cranks to do the raising and the lowering. So I'm actually going to put those over to the side, and I'm not even going to unwrap these. So um, now what makes this a little bit less obvious than I was hoping is that basically we have 5 different types of screws and bolts, and I definitely want to make sure that I put the right ones in the right place. So, okay, I see what they're doing. So this is kind of like, I think, um, so with the casters, the reason that these are here is it looks like, you would, it's kind of like my camera again, setup where basically you can tighten it down to a place that's convenient, and then you have another piece that you bring up to kind of screw into place. I could be wrong, but that puts it into the category of going on later. Um, so we'll put it over with the rest of those. So let's take a look at ye old instructions. Uh, step one. Apparently, step one is put it all together. No, I'm kidding. Um, so, wow, they're saying step one is to actually put the plastic brackets on. That's fascinating. That is not where I would have gone. So let's grab our plastic brackets. But yeah, see, these just seem to be covers to make it aesthetically pleasing. Now, it is interesting from like a UX perspective, like it's cut down the center here, so it splits, and then it has these 3 prongs, so you really don't have to do much, and it should. Wow, is that? Should I be expecting like a clicking sound or? Yeah, a little. It does take a little bit of force to get. There we go. That seated properly. Hopefully my light doesn't flicker too much. So go ahead and put this one on. Wow. There we go. I think I just had it. Step one is complete. Step two. So they're saying step two is going to be to connect all the um, crossbars. So seriously, little foam kernels everywhere. Um, it's almost like, they could shrink wrap the uh, the foam or something, so it doesn't get all over the place. It's like almost as bad as glitter at this point. All right, so these two go down here, right? And it looks like the holes. Oh, it doesn't matter. So it is asymmetrical, so this plate is not centered on the bar itself. So I'm wondering if that's a big deal. Looking at the destructions, it looks like it is a big deal, and we basically put the longer side up. Um, and we use A1. Oh, this would be fascinating if they actually made it so like the first bag goes with the first set of instructions. That would be pretty neat from a user experience perspective and reducing cognitive load. All right, so let's go ahead and put this in here. Just sort of hand tighten it. I will say the bolts have a good action to them. From the perspective of I can get these pretty tight just by hand tightening them. So the Allen wrench should just turn into, a mechanism for just tightening it down that extra little bit. Don't like when the threads are so tight that I can't. And the threads, I mean, these bolts do look pretty nice. It doesn't look like they're going to fall apart anytime soon, or that they can really wiggle out. Um, so what I've found, and I don't know how much there is to back this claim up, but what I found is that um, sort of the tighter the threads, the harder it is for it to actually the bolt to actually wiggle out. And this thing, yeah, doesn't look like it's moving anytime soon. That does have me a little concerned about taking it apart if I, or rather when I do move, just from the perspective that, yeah, um, how do I put this into a four-door sedan with everything else, right? That I'm going to be keeping, because I do plan on keeping this desk hopefully for a long time. So, but if I can't move, so if you don't know, and I'm just going to ramble on for a second, but if you don't know, basically, I'm a pretty hardcore minimalist, and you know, if I end up scaling up any one of my systems, I also think about how I'm going to end up scaling it down. And if worse comes to worse, this would be one of the first things to go, just because it does take up so much volume. And then the second one would actually be the guitar pick desk as well. And from what I remember, this desk wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't expensive, because I never know what somebody else's budget is. But at the same time, it didn't seem horribly more expensive than the um, the guitar pick desk. So, and I've actually already bought like two of those, and I think the guitar pick desk is around $90, $80, $90, and I really enjoy it from the perspective that it's its own box. So, I mean, not a box for itself, but a something I can put things in. Oh, this is okay. No, they got holes. So this one is symmetrical, but this one is definitely not as easy to get in. Let's see if now this one is screwing into, looks like, plastic sleeves. Don't like when the threads are so tight that I can't really get it that far in. And this one is not going to your home. There we go. I guess it just wasn't seated properly. But anyhow, the guitar pick desk gets high enough for me because I'm about 5'11", and it does get high enough for elbows, right? For my elbows to be at about 90 degrees, but it doesn't get high enough for my head not to crane down. And so this has about 2 or 3 inches, possibly even 4, that raises it just that little bit more. And so I'm hoping that that will be enough. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and tighten that. Oh, and I also find that bolts with more horizontal threads don't strip as easily. I don't want to jinx myself with that, but that seems to be the case. Um, okay, so now it can stand on its own, which is good. Or not. Yeah, this mid crossbar just seems to want to fight me a bit, which is rather annoying. Tighten this one down just a little bit more. Oh, and one of the other reasons that I didn't go with one of the automatic or motorized, because yeah, sorry, it's mechanical, then motorized, then um, automatic. But the reason that I didn't go with the motorized is actually has to do more with weight than anything else. Um, Typically, because you're dealing with motors and all sorts of stuff. Like the more hardware you need to actually make the thing function, the heavier it gets. So I'm gonna take a different tack. Let's go ahead and put that on its side. And I do think that they have, wow, I do think they have like professional a service that you can use to like put the desk together for you. But we're all about the raw experience here. So, uh-oh, I think we might have got it. All right, let's try my more tools. I'm hoping that I don't damage this. There we go. Yeah, no, I think we're good. Okay. So I will give them this. That is crazy stable. Because one of the other things that I try to do with the guitar pick desk is maybe try to set it up as a streaming computer because it could get my um, the webcam on my laptop higher, and then I could where I was set up. But like every time I would type, the it would rock. My laptop would rock back and forth, and basically it looked like I was kind of leaning forward, like leaning into the camera and leaning away from the camera rapidly. And like nobody wants to do that. Everybody on stream would get sick or something. So that was sort of the other reason that I wanted to do this is to see if I could create a more solid base for the camera to set up while or set on while also being more comfortable for me. Yeah, no, I'm pretty much appreciating it so far. Curious. Nope. Yeah, in a pinch, I wouldn't have been able to use this miniature wrench. Um, so it would have been nice to be able to build this without having to call in for reinforcements, but it is what it is. All right, so we made it through the entire A1 bag. Now, if the next one is to get the A6 bag, I'll be very impressed. Um, or the A2 bag, sorry. Um, yeah, no. The next step is to, again, make it aesthetically pleasing. Crack these open. I will say, as far as like covers go, like hardware covers go, these are actually pretty decent. Like the ones for the uprights slid in pretty easily. There's notches or slots in here with pegs that actually lock in place, so it looks like you can squeeze to get them off, but they're also not just going to jiggle off, at least hopefully not. So now we're going to go back to the O2 or the A2s. So it looks like we got 4 of those, and it is for this bottom panel here. Um, that explains why they want the covers to be put on first, which is fine. So this looks to be like MDF laminated. Yeah, yeah, because you should not have long grains on all 4 sides of an actual piece of wood. So, but that's fine. And then we have the bolts screwed in. It's labeled B5. It's also labeled in a good place because it's going to be on the bottom, so not really seen by the public. I'll swing this around. Um, so again, just sort of hand tightening, wanting to keep it loose so that once we get all of the bolts in, we can just screw, hopefully directly, or tighten into the nuts. Uh-oh. Oh, wow. Don't tell me this thing is actually sized to go a specific front and back. Um, and that would be annoying if I end up taking this thing apart. Yeah, see, this isn't the same distance as this. So that makes me think to get the proper alignment, you have to put it into a certain position. Come on. Yep. So the longer bit goes in the back, near as I can tell. I'm not catching on these teeth or the grooves. Wow. Okay. Try the bottom one. See if we have better luck there. And we do. That's interesting because I would have expected the longer part to go in the front. And maybe it's supposed to, but it's not really working out for me from a screw placement perspective. I mean, sorry, this is making my OCD go to town. Um, so if you can't see what I'm referring to, basically there's a hangover um, here that I don't think we would get if we could screw it in with the part that's at the front being in the back. So see, because with this setup, we get more flush on the back, and that would be what I would expect. So let's give this one more try. So we definitely caught there, and because it shouldn't matter what the spacing is as long as I've slid this into the right position. All right, so we've caught there. Maybe the bolt, or sorry, the nut that's inside of that one corner is just bad because I couldn't get it to catch with one of the bolts. Yeah, that seems to be the case. So if we can make it through to the back. Yeah, I'm going to fully tighten the problem child and then do the other ones afterward. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. Looks pretty okay. I mean, there's a big gap over here. But the others seem to be pretty tight. And I mean, it's not like I drilled those holes, so but it is what it is. All right. So we've got the plate on. Next, they say to put on the casters. I suppose that makes sense because we're going to be doing. Oh. Oh. Maybe that's what this is all about. So the bolt is actually not there to catch it like I thought it was. I mean, it kind of is. So basically, what it looks like, because this screw, this thread is actually like spinning. So we actually have, there's this piece here, which it looks like you use to actually rotate and screw the caster into place, and then the bolt can make up for any extra distance, which means that it should be the size of the wrench. Like both of these should be the size of the wrench. And they are not. Wow. Do I just not know how to make furniture? I mean, that is definitely not my forte. Um, like I don't do this on a regular basis. No, they show from the destructions, they show this wrench being able to fit that. Oh, yeah, it does. Okay. It's just really, really finicky, I guess. You're probably thinking this is a horrible angle, but yeah, I would tend to agree. But I don't know that you really want to just watch me try to get this wrench to go onto that thing. Um, you're not missing much, is what I'm basically saying. Now, I will say, given that it's only 57 pounds in its entirety, or at least the shipping weight, I do appreciate that I can move it around relatively easily. And here we go again, trying to get this thing to fit on this hex thing. And chances are I'm going to cut all this audio out anyway. Oh, and I put the wrong caster. Um, so, note to self and anybody who's watching, there are two different types of casters. There's basically um, the ones with the locks and the ones without the locks, and the ones without the locks should go on the back. I accidentally put one of the ones without the locks on the front, so we get to do that part again. Take two. So the reason that I like the fact that these screw in is that sometimes with those punch-in ones, you'll be rolling it around and it'll weaken the material that it's pinned into, and eventually you'll split and the caster just falls off, and that's no good for anybody. And they do seem to have a really good spinning action, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. And I don't remember checking how much weight it can take. I think it might be 50, 60 pounds, something like that. Yeah, okay, so we've got the casters in, and now they say to go ahead and stand it up. And I might move the camera for this one. And then we're going to put the arms in. All right, so moved everything. Um, and I'm also a little bit concerned because we've got some pretty decent wobble, and of course, the higher you make it, the more it's going to shake. With that said, it does look like there is not like any kind of push button release for going down. Basically, you have to once you hit the max height, which is substantial, basically you lift it again and it makes it so that you can bring it down, and it doesn't look like there's any way to re-catch it until you actually go all the way down. So adjusting height, probably not going to be a thing, but with standing desks, I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem. Um, put them in one position once. At least that's what I tend to do. So, all right, so we're going to grab our handy dandy A3s. So it does look like, if nothing else, we do have, they are going in order. So it's A1, 2, 3. So that's convenient. Those are the A3s. Looks like they're relatively long. This is the component. I'm not sure why there are 3 holes. Maybe if you want to push it out a little bit, give you 2 separate options. Granted, this is going to be a permanent decision. Permanent. Oh no. Okay. So basically what we want to do is we want to have 2 holes for the top to screw into, right? And then use these 2 to actually screw it or attach it to the table. I don't know why, but I felt like I was loading a gun just then. But okay. Sit, stay. I've used these instructions more than I think anything else I have ever put together. So this should be B7. Huh. Yeah, so this is B7. Oh, I see. Because I was wondering what these screw holes, what these bored out holes are all about. And I'm going to presume that it's to seat this on top of the heads of the screws. Yeah. Okay. So which screws are these? The A4s. This is interesting. I think they gave us extra A4s, but because so far with the A1, 2, and 3, they have given us the exact right count. And so here, though, they've given us 2, 4, 6. So I'm wondering what the other two are going to be about. And I think I'm going to move the camera again. See if that helps at all. Yeah, seems to. So we're sticking with the industrial light theme. I really hope nothing goes wrong here. Did one of the brakes catch? Yep. So the brakes work, kind of. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a lot easier to move around when you don't have the brakes on. So we've got that in place. What's the next one? So the next one is the big one. So let me go ahead and grab it. That is a nice big surface. With that said, packaging becomes a problem. So let's go ahead and slide this out of the way for a second. So basically what I did is I did a quick check to see if there was any damage or anything like that. And it does look like we've got a little denting here that's damaged the wood. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm kind of okay with that because I'm probably, over the years, if this thing lasts, I'm going to be causing more damage than that. So the question becomes, do we put the long or the short side front? It looks, if this drawing is any indication, bad angle. Is there a better angle of that? Wow, that was so awkward. I thought I was holding it upside down. Yeah, so it looks like it's short side forward. And the end caps seem to have been slipping. So short side forward. So we've got the damaged side forward. How awesome is that? Okay, and what are we using to screw these in? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. My bolts bolted. All right, so we're doing the A5s next. I'm gonna need to adjust leg camera. Oh wait, no, the short side goes back. Cool. Guess that's pretty much it for that one. Holding my arms like this for this extended period of time makes me feel like I'm doing isometrics, like where you just like hold a towel up. Um, but yeah, no, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. Most of the wobble is just from the carpet. So now we have one last board. I'm assuming that it's going to take the last A4s. Yeah, that's precarious as hell. Like, I guess the idea is, like, at least with this one, is that everything you put on it is basically going to be centered over the board. And it's interesting that we have these covers for everything except these. And maybe I just missed them. Um, let's grab the destructions. This is weird. So here we have a picture with the shelf on there. I mean, these are just notes, I guess, but they're showing how to lock and unlock and tighten this down. But like, yeah, that's weird. Like that crossbar is already attached. So anyway, our last two. All right. So there we have it. Um, let's go ahead and move the camera again. All right. Looks like we've got it all set up. I'm going to go ahead and raise it to where I'm probably going to have it. Get rid of all those styrofoam things. Um, and then I'll probably shut this one down and then show you afterwards. So let's see what we get. Oh, wow. Put your foot on it. Okay, so that's about 90 degrees for me on the elbow. I could probably go one more actually. I'm hesitant though because like then I'm gonna have to lower it, which means raising it. Yeah, no, this is good. It's still wobbly. Um, I do think that's more because with the guitar pick desk, um, I can actually feel it in the mechanics or in the hardware. Here, this feels more like it's just a, like it's rocking on the carpet. Um, and maybe I'll do a check on um, on the hard floor and see if that's actually the case. But yeah, so hopefully next time, or not next time, but hopefully in a couple of seconds, through the magic of television, we'll have this pretty well set up. And I think even on stream, like the camera shake hopefully won't be too bad. Maybe I'll get a hardwood floor panel or something to sort of put it on. But I do appreciate the fact that this gets higher than the guitar pick desk, because the guitar pick desk actually got a little bit lower than this, so I was craning my neck even more. So this should be even better, even just with the laptop, because I'm not tilting my head as far down. Um, I don't know. I'll set it up later. But with that said, yeah. So let's go ahead and cut this off, and I'm going to go ahead and set everything up, at least in a iteration one fashion.
All right. I have some concerns. So, got the desk together. That's good times. The height is perfect. I'm really appreciating this. It really is kind of helping me get my neck to stop being craned down like it was before. Um, with that said, uh, we really need to figure out this camera situation kind of fast. Well, uh, there's not a deadline. I'm exaggerating, but basically, um, let me let's switch to the handheld, shall we? So the desk's kind of wobbly. Anyway, it is the desk itself, and that's going to happen when you basically have two legs that are relatively thin, holding up some heavy stuff, and you're moving it around. With that said, the table leads up to this monitor that has a stem on it that also wobbles, right? So it's not it doesn't have 2 feet on either side to make it basically part of the desktop itself, and so it's going to sway back and forth, right? Um, and then on top of it, that's where I've put our handy dandy camera, and yeah, it's bad times. So let's go ahead and switch back to throw this in the. Oh, see, you just accidentally touch it, and it's like earthquake, 7.5. All right, so earthquake averted. But obviously, we've been posting a lot of videos lately, so wanted to go ahead and show you what the setup is now and how I've sort of dealt with that. So let's switch back to the handheld. All right, so there it is. Basically, we have the a C922 up above this light. Because it's set up on the light, this is the face cam. So basically, as the desk kind of wobbles back and forth, you don't get that motion. And the thing about it is that the desk, since this is about the desk, it's not entirely unstable, right? Like it's not that the desk itself moves a great deal. It's that when the camera was on top of this monitor, the monitor would shift a great deal because it only has this one leg sort of holding it in place. And as you can see, it's not the stablest thing in the world. And I sort of use this side of the monitor when I'm using the face cam as a way to be able to look into somewhere. And when I'm doing the picture in picture, I have the picture down here in the bottom right corner so that when I'm looking into the monitor, I'm looking back into that corner or back into the actual display. So pretty nice setup. And then for the top down, basically we have this arm here that basically has a weight on it so it doesn't fall over, and I can place that right here to be able to do sort of this top down shot from or rather onto the desktop. And because the arm itself is attached to the desktop, as it moves or shifts, the camera just kind of moves with it, so you don't get that jarring effect. So basically the only movement that you really get is from the monitor itself, which I am debating on whether or not to get some type of leg situation or solution in place, but it doesn't seem to bother too many people or me. And then we have this light. The light itself is bounced off of the wall to give it a little bit more diffusion. And then of course this front light, which is why I'm sort of flat lit. And then we also have the microphone, which is coming off. So this is a Scarlett Studio, just 2i2, and it's coming off of this arm, or rather this mic stand. And basically, because it's coming off of this mic stand, as the table moves, we don't have a problem. It is also set up so that the line of sight for it is out of the way, no matter where I sorry about the clicking, no matter where I move the mic, it becomes off screen so that it doesn't become a distraction. Now, I know some people really prefer their setup to have the microphone sort of visible. I'm not that person, and either way is perfectly fine. So as you can see, this tabletop is doing pretty well for holding us up. And then down here, we definitely have a lot of storage to hold things, including some leather supplies that I have for other projects, as well as the power supply. Now with the power supply, what I ended up doing is placing the cord on this side so that the weight of it is pulling it back this way, and it seems to make a really nice steady setup. So with that said, let's switch back to the face camera and close it up. All right, so that's the setup. And now you know that behind the monitor is a microphone, and part of the monitor is to be an experience. So when I'm looking at it, you can see what I'm staring at and help lead the eyes and everything like that. But anyway, this is about the mounted desk, or mount IT, depending on how you want to put it. With that said, given the size of this thing, like its breadth and depth, and its cost relative to other similar desks, like standing desks that can reach this height and this level of stability, I could definitely say that the price in comparison is a little bit lower. With that said, if you watched the video, then you saw that basically the experience also isn't the most posh in the world, right? There was dust on the box. The taping could have been a little bit better on the box. It's pretty much standard issue cardboard, styrofoam, and that sort of a thing. And the one panel is damaged. But you know what? It, again, relatively speaking, for the amount of desk that I'm getting, I'm kind of okay. The cost price value proposition for me is definitely great, and it seems sizable enough to be able to handle everything that I want to be able to do from a top-down perspective. It also seems like a relatively decent experience for all the things that I want to do with regard to screencasting with you guys and everything like that. So it definitely seemed like a wise investment, and just for comparison's sake, it was roughly the same as the monitor or the microphone with the audio interface. So definitely check out Mount It. Not a sponsor. Nothing's sponsored here, just so you know. But with that said, as always, thank you so much for making the time. I definitely do appreciate it, and I'm really glad that I'm starting to get over this cold that I had. So anyway, as always, thank you, and I'll see you around.